Hi everyone, Sailor Moon here, and Sailor Venus here, and today we're going to talk about, the hate that the hate that the Dic And Cloverway Sailor Moon got, because at the end of the day I don't really think the hate was needed. So, first off, in the Sailor Moon followership, between sundry Sailor Moon followers, young and old, there is either they liked the Dic one, or they hated the Dic one, or they loved the Cloverway one, or they hated the Cloverway one. Nowadays, a lot of them out there love the Viz one, and the things that they make a big deal out of, it's not really something you should be making a big deal out of. I mean, first off, names being shifted. I mean, they make a big deal out of, of having Latinish, Frenchish, Hellenish, Spanish, and even Hebrewish borrowed names, and even Farsi borrowed names, taking the stead of the Dawnlandish borrowed names. They make a big deal about it. Why? The only grounds I can come up with, in their mind, they think that since they understand all the Dawnlandish borrowed names, they believe everyone else should understand them too. So they make a big deal out of, borrowed names being shifted out for other borrowed names. And if it's not the names that they make a big deal of, it's the stead names. In their mind, they think that everyone should know all the stead names and all the earldom, all the near and earldom and reich names in Dawnland. They believe as if they know every reich, earldom, and near in Dawnland. They think everyone else should know it too. So make a big deal about stead names being shifted. I don't understand that at all. And another thing that they like to make a big deal out of is a show playing. The speaking players, the folks that did the speaking for them, for the Dic and later on Cloverway ones. They make a big deal out of that. They don't like it either because it's in English, the speech that they speak, or they get or they don't think they just in their mind they think that that's not how they think the cells should speak like. Like, I don't know what they thought the cells would speak like, but so them being irked that they have, settled land, having folks speaking Settlelander English or 4-1 Rights English pisses them off for some ground sake and why. It pisses them off that the folks that are speaking, they make a big deal about that. Then what they also make a big deal of, oh come on Sailor Venus, you want to go now? Yeah, Sailor Moon. And the other things they make a big deal of, they really should not make a big deal of, are strike names being shifted. Because keep in mind, the names were being shifted. Dic would shift the names, Cloverway shift the names, and they would get irked and angry that if they knew all the strike and hit names, then everybody else should know it too. And then they get angry that they got shifted, that the strike names have been shifted from Dic and Cloverway. Another thing that pisses them off or makes them angry, they make a big deal out of, is a sailor says. Now, yes, at the time there was an oversight. I don't know if it's still a thing, but at the time, during the 9 between 80 YLs and early 9 between 90 YLs, there was a oversight that said you had to have some learning show on your folk work. And if you did not have anything to do with learning, you had to make something that had learning. So that's why Dic and Ethan would have to do those sailor says things. I mean, Ethan Sonic did it, right? I mean, when you start to think on the G.I. Joes, they did as well. And hell, even the Power Rangers and Might Keepers had to follow that oversight at one time too. They make a big deal out of Sailor Says, as almost if the things that they're, teaching folks about is something that, they think that's dumb or they don't think it's helpful. And those really seem to be that, oh, I'm leaving out the Tuskler in the room. They make a big deal about, Zoisite being a woman in the Dic world and Cloverway world, I would think, while in the rest of the world, Zoisite is a man. And they seem to believe, they take it as if it was the worstest thing that could ever been done. And in their mind, they seem to think that the mindset and stand nowadays with folks who are unstraight, they seem to think it should have been the mindset and stand in the past. Well, they make a big deal out of that, but keep in mind, back in the day, the mindset and stand of anyone who was unstraight, I mean, if someone was playing someone who was unstraight in a show, film, or play for grown-ups, it was alright. Or whatever. But if there was someone playing an unstraight self in a show, film, or play for children, then it was seen as not right. And even though, the stand, even though folks have learned, nowadays more folks are, more understanding and more trusting and more have an open mind towards folks who see themselves as unstraight. But yeah, that wasn't the mindset back then, I'm sorry. So yes, Dic and Cloverway had to shift, Zoisite to a woman. Sailor Neptune and Sailor, Uranus had to become nearkin. And some folks seem to think that Fisheye was unstraight, but after watching the Dic and Wedge and a Cloverway and Viz one, I got a belief that Fisheye was a woman. And they make a big deal out of that. Yeah, you're leaving out one other little thing, Sailor Venus. Oh, I'll get back to you, Sailor Moon. They also seem to make a big deal. I'm gonna go on, Sailor Moon. Yes, thank you, Sailor Venus. They make a big deal of the songs, that took the stead of the Dawn Landish songs in the show. They make a big deal about some of the fighting and wrestling being skimmed a little. So yeah, at the end of the day, the things that they make a big deal about in the Dic Sailor Moon 9 between 95 YL to 9 between 98 YL, and the Cloverway Sailor Moon 2000 YL, I don't really think that the things that they make a big deal of were not really things they should make a big deal of. But still to this day, if you talk to anyone in Sailor Moon followership, either they'll love Dic or Cloverway 1, or they'll hate the Dic or Cloverway 1. Well, if you like this film, then follow us over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film he made yesterday over here. And don't forget, tomorrow you're going to see the Sailor Fighters with Jesus again. We're going to make that film tomorrow. I, Sailor Moon Serena, I, Sailor Venus Mina, and I'll see you later. Goodbye. Farewell. Oh, we've got